Hit record now. All right. Good morning and welcome to Coffee with Parishioners, episode 20 already. Time flies. I can't believe we've done 20 of these. Really great to be here with Rita Tracey this morning. Good morning, Rita.
Good morning, Father.
And this is kind of interesting. If you recognize the backgrounds, I'm just going to go ahead and tell the story because I think people might be wondering if they recognize the background. So first of all, I usually have recorded all these over at the house at the rectory. I recorded this one. I knew I was going to come over to the office today and record this one in the parish office. And then we had sort of take one, and we're having lots and lots of technical difficulties. So Rita is a room over right now in the St. Jerome room. And it's funny because to me, it points out why we're doing what we're doing, right? Because it's like, we're in the same building. We could just be talking in person, right? And that's the last thing you want to do is encourage people to, like, when you could be talking in person, let's talk to a screen. The purpose of what we're doing is not only to do things in the safest way possible, but also so that we can share this with our parishioners and so that they know that they're not alone, right?
Right.
So anyway, just wanted to share that, a little bit of technical difficulties, bad reception caused us to do it this way, but it helps us remember why we're doing it. So, Rita, what do you have in front of you there? Do you got your drink, your beverage?
Yep. Time of the morning. I'm an early morning coffee drinker, but then it's water.
Okay, so you got water. I got coffee, and because I'm because I had to walk across over to the parish office, I have a Go mug, which I'll tell more about my mug in a minute. You want to tell about yours?
Sure. Well, and I am, like I said, a coffee drinker, but I do unleaded only usually. So I don't need the decaf or the caffeine, so I go decaf. And this mug actually was a gift from the church that I grew up in, which we went back. My mom, of course, had her funeral service there. And then as a memorial, we dedicated a little coffee room to her that the parish had wanted to do for years. So we took her memorial and built a little fellowship coffee room there. And so they gave us coffee mugs.
Right.
But it's from Trinity Lutheran Church in Dorinda, Illinois. Dorinda, the only thing left in the town is the church. It's in the rolling hills up south of Elizabeth. Gorgeous, gorgeous farm ground up there. So I was baptized in this church. I was confirmed in this church. I was married in this church. And since our gospels have been about the parables of the seed, this is where my seeds of faith were planted.
Okay.
In this church and amongst all this beautiful rolling scenic farm ground.
Wow. Well, thanks for sharing. Now, I don't want to sound like it's a spirit of competition, but of learning good ideas from other communities. Now I'm thinking we should have coffee mugs, right? We should get some St. Louis Parish mugs.
Yeah, I was really surprised when they handed it out because it's just such a small parish, but it's a great memento, especially since we dedicated a coffee room, fellowship room for my mom. So
yeah, wonderful. We should get coffee with parishioners mugs. That could be a thing.
That's a great idea.
Marketing. How about that?
Yeah.
All right. So I want to first acknowledge, throughout this time of quarantine, you've really been generous, and I'm not to sort of put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot and lift you up a little bit about really some things that when we couldn't come into the church, well, even when I could only come into the church for live stream, you helped to make the sanctuary very beautiful. And of course, we weren't even in there at the same time. So when the I guess the alert was the highest, we were as safe as we could be, if that is the right way of saying that. But anyway, and then also some things outside. You want to share a little bit about what you've done?
I guess outside it was like I was trying to do something tangible. You were taking care of the spiritual end and the emotional end, holding everyone up. And I felt called to do something a little bit tangible. And so you actually kind of made one of my dreams come true,
Hmm.
because for many years, to start off with, for many years we've had this cross, and I even told other parishioners, someday around Easter, I want to put that cross out front. I want to put that cross out front.
Hmm.
And you let me do that. So that was really a dream come true, that I got to finally display that cross. And the cross was very sentimental to me for a lot of reasons. We'd used it on a Respect Life float, but it wasn't me that created that. Of course, my husband Tom helped a lot with the brawn and the muscles and mechanics. But as I reflected, we were at a time where I couldn't go out and buy anything. And so everything that was used to do those displays was something that was from around the parish.
Hmm.
And there was many hands from the past. The foundation for that cross, because we'd used it on a Respect Life float, was from Gary Coates, a past member of the parish here, that I cherished him and his work in helping. And so we got to use his handiwork. The stones and bricks that we used around the base were from an old seating wall that used to be around the rectory that was removed. The palms were from an arrangement that I'd taken apart last year from Father Ed. So we had a little bit of Father Ed in there. Father Sternman is the one that had the retaining or the little seating wall removed. So we had a little bit of him. And there were things left over from weddings. So there were many hands that went together in making that display. So,
Wow.
yeah, I thought
Well,
that was.
yeah. Well, from my perspective, I didn't even really know what it was. You move into a parish and there's so many things that I'm sure everything has a story, but I don't know what the story is. And so to me, all I knew is, okay, here's this big cross in the garage, and and a year went by and more, and nobody asked about, hey, when are we going to get that cross out? And so it took the quarantine, right, to
It did.
and that creative, generous thinking about, okay, how can we create a prayerful space that will lift people's hearts to Christ outside, since we can't come inside for the time being. So, and I know I had numerous people, so many people tell me how much they appreciate having that cross out there, and as well the Mary statue that's out there now, and the nice setup you have there. I've had parishioners share with me how it's been a blessing for them. And even out on walks or driving by, some have been driving by and felt compelled to pull over and stop and have a short moment of prayer. So so thanks be to God for that. It's wonderful. I realized, backtracking, I realized I started to tell the story of my mug, and then I didn't, because I started talking about that. But just real quick, this is a mug that, like I said, it's a travel mug, but you can see that there was once words on it, and it's worn down. But it was a birthday gift, a Christmas gift. I don't remember which, but a gift from my mom years ago. And on this side, when you look on this side, you can see that there was like a wheel that you would have on an old ship, like a steering wheel. So even though I can't read the words on it, I can read the passage that it's quoting. So I just pull out my Bible to look it up. Matthew 4:20 is what's on this mug, which is, at once they left their nets and followed him. So I can't remember whether this was, I don't think it was at the time I was ordained, but I think it was maybe in my early years of ministry that was a gift to me. But once they left their nets and followed him, and of course it's interesting because I just talked about that in the homily this weekend, how our Lord preaching the parables on the shore in the boat, setting out just like he did that day when they left their nets and followed him, and then ending the series of parables on the net of fish. You can see the homily for the details. I'm not going to rehash the whole homily, but it's kind of interesting that right after we reflected on that over the weekend, now I'm reminded of that in my coffee mug. the need to leave our nets behind, whatever our nets are for each and every one of us, to follow Christ. So, so just sticking with the theme of kind of following Christ, what are some ways that you have sort of been able to embrace the presence of Christ and find joy in the midst of these very different few months we've had?
One of the ways, of course, I hear some feedback. Are you hearing that? Or
It's not too bad on my end.
Okay, great. Finding peace and joy. I do a lot of gardening, and I can a lot of food and freeze a lot of food, which came in real handy when everything started and couldn't go to the store. So, but I do a lot of gardening, and I have a lot of deer in my yard. They like to just sit and watch me garden. In fact, I have a set of twins and a set of triplets that just sit outside the garden and watch me. So at night, they like to hop the fence, even though there's a 4-foot high fence. The raccoons and the deer like to get in the garden. So I have a radio hooked up in the garden to kind of scare them away. Well, they actually like country music, so that didn't work. So I put the radio on WSOG, which out of Spring Valley, which has EWTN on it 24 hours a day. And there's a lot of talking, a lot of talk radio, a lot of prayer going on. And they are a little bit scared of some of the voices. So they have been staying out of my garden. But then in the morning, when I go out and work in the garden, it's such a joy to listen to EWTN that I find a lot of peace out there, just listening to the familiar voices and the prayers and mass and everything on EWTN while I work away. And I found that quite enjoyable. So that's been my little place of peace.
Awesome. Any other sort of unexpected advantages that you've encountered in these few months?
I kind of like the mask idea because out in the country, I don't wear makeup, I don't do my hair or anything. And if I am forced to run into town, I really like the mask because I can be hot and sweaty and just throw that mask on and kind of incognito. And it works really well.
That's great.
Yeah, and I also like early in the pandemic, of course, when you didn't want to go out at all, I was working on a lot of projects at home, and I always pride myself in being very resourceful. I don't throw anything out. I reuse everything. And so I mixed more paint colors than you'll ever know to match things that needed to be matched. I found out that mortar and drywall compound, you can mold about anything you want out of it. I just have enjoyed using odds and ends of things I have around the house and making it work. So kind of fun.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I've heard similar things from others too, how things that kind of being prompted to use what's in front of you a little bit more has prompted people to make good use of the things that maybe often get overlooked, and it's easier it seems sometimes to just like, oh, I'll run out and grab a new this or that, and but we learn to be a lot more resourceful, you know. So that's good. Good. Okay. Yeah. Any other thoughts you want to share with me and with anyone watching this?
Well, I guess seeing God at work in this, the pandemic can have some good qualities too to it. I saw where it was kind of a gift from God that a lot of families had to take a pause from their hectic pace, and it was a joy to see young families once again being at home together, moms and dads being there with their little ones, and home cooked meals around the table. So I think we that was kind of a little gift from God, that family time together. We learned to appreciate the sacraments definitely more, and our freedom to worship was one of God's handiworks through this. And then I think one of the things that affected everyone is that when this hit, it really made us see how vulnerable we are as humans, that we don't always have the answers, because most things that have happened, we either spend our way out of it, buy our way out of it, move away from it. We couldn't move. We couldn't buy something that was going to help. You know, there was like, nobody had the answers. Nobody. It was bigger than any of us, but yet it affected all of us. So that just made us all realize that we had to have faith, you know, that God is all knowing, we are not. And I think when this started, I can still remember you and I in this room trying to discuss the fish fry, whether or not it was because I came to set up fish fry. And we knew something big was starting to unfold and happen, but we didn't know. And I think if we knew now, or if we knew then what we knew now, we wouldn't have wanted to get out of bed the next morning, you know, knowing what we were facing over the next few months. And so I'm glad that God is all knowing and we are not all knowing.
Yeah.
You know.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, it's interesting, you know, recollecting on that process of discerning the canceling of the fish fry. I mean, I do remember that was such a tough decision. You know, the fish fries have been beloved by the community for many, many years, and kind of keeping one a year going, I think made a lot of people appreciate that one that we had, you know, in the past few years. And so then when that weekend, that Friday was drawing closer, when we were going to have our one fish fry, and over the course of that week in particular, but even the weeks before it, the pandemic was drawing nearer and nearer, and the concerns and all of the speculation about what was going to happen. And I still remember, like, toward the middle of that week thinking, you know, it's really hard to envision having a fish fry under these circumstances. And I didn't want to, and nobody wanted to think about having to cancel it. But it was hard that we found ourselves having to think about that. And then in hindsight, I still even remember sitting down with some of the fish fry leaders, volunteers, and the question of, you know, you don't think they'd actually cancel mass, and I was like, no, they won't. And then 24 hours later, public mass was suspended, and you know, I think that humble approach that you just demonstrated of you know what, I don't have the answers. None of us knows for sure what's exactly right. We're doing the best we can. We're trying to keep people safe. We're trying to keep our our faith alive in the midst of this crazy situation. And we just it's a reminder of what so much of life is anyway, which is just do the best we can with each day, and the challenges as well as the opportunities that we're given each day. You know. And so, yeah, what a note to end on, huh?
Yeah. God is God and we are not. And we found out that, we need to humble ourselves, and there was no magic bullet for this one. So. Yeah.
Well, wonderful. Thank you for helping to bring us to that place, because I think that's a good place to be, of surrendering before God and letting him be God. So, all right. Well, God bless you, Rita. Thanks again for making this time, and thanks for all you do for our parish.
You're welcome. It's a blessing.
All right. God bless. Bye-bye.